I consider it a privilege to be invited to participate in Camerimage 2013, a festival that celebrates the cinematographer, the people who, with the visual effects artists, interpret the director's vision and create the magic that we see on the big screen. This year, Camerimage is recognizing 3D for the very first time. I feel it's very appropriate, and I think it's important that Camerimage recognizes that 3D is and will be a significant part of the cinematic experience. The most important thing about a 3D film is that 3D does not become the story. 3D should be no more or less the creative part than in a 2D experience. Once it becomes intrusive, it's no longer creative and artistic. Nothing. There's no difference between 2D and 3D. They are both creative tools for the filmmaker. To say that one is better than the other is incorrect. They are simply two different aspects of the same art. I think the important thing about assessing the films that we're going to be screening is whether or not and how much 3D actually adds to the experience. If it doesn't add to the experience, then it's unnecessary. My hope is that the films that we are going to be seeing use 3D in a creative way. You have primarily very visual effects intensive feature films that have become almost the genre of choice for 3D. When you have a film like Top Gun, which Tony Scott created, Tony Scott is extremely analog director. He's not a digital director, and I admire him for it. So there is no visual effects, that is computer visual effects in the film. And there's some very long shots, and it's a type of film that is significantly more difficult to convert than Transformers or Man of Steel, which we just completed, and some of the other films that came out this summer. Significantly more difficult to convert because you're dealing with real people doing real things in very long shots. So the 3D has to be extremely precise in every single frame. There's nothing you can get away with. There's nothing that you can do to hide the art. You have to be very exacting, and it's a very creative process. So this is I think one of the very first films that's not visual effects intensive that's been converted, and I think that it's going to be proof, or it is proof, that 2D to 3D conversion has come of age. Well, I think that that particular film, Top Gun, because of the aerial shots, it really brings them to life and gives the audience a real feel of being in those F-14s. I think everyone who's seen it has remarked that, yes, they've seen the movie 100 times. They can recite the dialogue. Everyone can. And yet, having seen it in 3D, it is a unique experience all over again. Well, let me correct one thing. There have been a few channels that have delayed 3D, but those were simply tests. They were not considered real rollouts. So I don't consider them significant. And again, those were delays. There are other significant distributors who are maintaining their commitment to 3D. So 3D is by far not going away from the TV screen. And as far as 3D in the cinema, in the United States, 9 out of the top 10 highest grossing films of 2013, 9 out of 10 were 3D. What does that tell you? I mean, it tells you that, yeah, it tells you that it's real, it's here, it's generating significant revenue for the studios, and the studios recognize it. That's why it's not going to go away. Wow, that's a very good question. We did Shrek 1, Shrek 2, and Shrek 3. In that case, we've got CGI generated animation, and typically that can be redone within the computer by creating a second virtual camera. So it's not something that would normally come to a conversion company like Legend 3D. However, when the assets, the digital assets, are no longer available, as they weren't available for the most part in Shrek 1, 2, and 3, we have to treat it as if they were, it's a 2D animation without any assets whatsoever. So we treated it just like a normal movie. However, in an animated feature, because of the cleanliness of the background, because of the cleanliness of the image, it takes significant care to create 3D without any artifacts. It's got to be pixel perfect. Now, we just finished a different type of movie, an animated movie for Disney. We just finished Little Mermaid. And Little Mermaid is different in that it's traditional cell animation. And in traditional cell animation, unlike The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, which were all part of what they call the CAP system at Disney, which means that all of the different layers were digital and easier to put together and composite. The Little Mermaid was all composited. It was all baked in. There were no separate elements. So we had to start from composited frames and create the stereo. And Disney put an additional restriction on us that we could not use our own art. We could only use the art that was there. And if you know The Little Mermaid, there are some significant storm sequences, heavy rain that they put in there, and we had to pull that rain off and actually dimensionalize that without using our own rain. And that was a challenge. In fact, when you're dealing with cell animation where there's no shadows or there's no texture for the most part, it's very difficult to create volume in characters. And we had to invent an entirely new conversion process for handling traditional cell animation. So yeah, there's a very, very big difference between animation and live action. I think we have to be careful. And well, I think that 3D can add a great deal to the classics. If we can work on films where the original director is still around and can give their blessing, I think it's a better choice.